Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Piano Lessons Season 2. Marc Piano, great to see you.
Phil, always a pleasure. Beautiful day. Crypto is busy. Life is good.
Life is good indeed. And honoured once more to be joined by another guest from the H3 network, Petri Basson. A pleasure to see you, sir.
Thank you very much, Phil. Great to see you, Mark. Great to see you as well. Looking forward to this.
Now you've had a fascinating career. I was running through your background, and obviously you start in a sort of very traditional sense. I mean, over 10 years working Big Four, incredibly impressive sort of certifications and everything else that you went through. But as you got more and deeper into the sort of digital asset space, have begun to sort of pivot as accordingly. You developed audit methodology. You've produced blockchain tools. You founded the Blockchain Association in the Cayman Islands, which obviously Mark is very honoured to be a part of as well. And you're here today representing sort of Lemma Solutions, our sort of H3 member and founder member. But obviously you've got a wide range of services and other options within that, which we'd love to get into. Your tagline, I was on your website, which I love, and your tagline is a team of dedicated DAO mavericks, which is awesome. And never has that been more important than where we are now in the world. So before we get into all of that and we get into really what you can do and how you help this community, would love to hear a little bit more about your own personal journey and how you made these decisions to sort of land where you are today, really.
Oh, happy. So my personal journey is almost a bit of a sad story to start out with. So my first introduction was, I think it was probably 2013 or 2012 when, I've always been a gamer, had a gaming PC, heard about this Bitcoin thing, and actually mined some Bitcoin with my gaming PC very early on.
Wow.
Started probably a few years before that. See, everyone's always impressed when you tell them that. They're not that impressed when you tell them that you're an early adopter and spending Bitcoin as well. So I got my magical internet money and then proceeded to buy a mouse and a keyboard with that magical internet money. So
how many Bitcoins was that then?
Mark, I don't want to know. A lot of people have asked, and I probably have an invoice in one of my email inboxes that I can go find, but I'm not going to do that to myself. But that's where I first got introduced, but it didn't click for me. It really clicked when, I think it was 2016, 17 at KPMG, when we had a bunch of clients that were invested in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and those balances became very material very quickly, and then had to figure out how to audit that, as you said. So then I did a deep dive into the Bitcoin white paper, all the encryption, being a Big Four, wrote memos on how message signing works, etc. And because I've got a cybersecurity background as well, and cybersecurity, you're always looking at something, how can I break this? And I was sort of, how can I break this? How can I break this? And I couldn't find any way that this breaks, which is very impressive when you think about the Bitcoin white paper being about 8-9 pages and achieving that.
And then you weren't at the Big Four forever. So what made you decide to leave, and what did you end up doing? And also, why did you stay here?
Yep. So at Big Four, I worked up to sort of a director level and then saw a gap in the market. I think the crypto market was busy maturing and really saw an opportunity to sort of go into the market and bring that more institutional experience into it. You've got a lot of very, very clever people in this space, but they don't think about some of the more operational things a lot. They don't think about corporate governance. So started out by doing independent directorships, working with foundations as well as digital asset funds. In the fund space, it was interesting because we were bringing the more crypto exchange-specific self-custody type experience. And then with the foundations, it's really just bringing that maturity, having independent oversight, and then lessons learned over time in terms of working through that. Also helped to found Provenance, which is a sister company. They do compliance, KYC, AML. That is still probably one of our challenges at the moment for institutions, is they think that there's no compliance here, but over there they do compliance for grants, they do it for DAOs that are accepting donations. There's a wide scope there, so it isn't as Wild West as a lot of people think. And then set up Lemma Solutions as well, which Lemma really works with the operations of DAOs. In doing directorships and from Provenance side, we really saw that need in the market. You might have a DAO, the DAO makes a decision, but someone needs to actually implement those decisions. You see the same with steering committees, security councils. the Security Council does something, but someone needs to open up a bank account, manage the multi-sig. If you've got a multi-sig with a lot of people on it, someone needs to chase everyone to get those signatures. So Lemma actually helps with that. There'll be a signer, they'll sort of manage the whole process. And then also just things like agreements. We've seen a lot of grants being issued with no milestones and no follow-up afterwards. So the community will vote, a grant will get issued, but Lemma will then actually do the operational day-to-day stuff, make sure the agreement is signed, KYC is done, the payments are done, and then monitor afterwards. So if we've got milestones, follow up with the team. Hey guys, have you done this? Okay, you haven't done this, or you've achieved it, we can make the following payment. So it's bringing those really operational things into these communities because, I mean, a lot of the time the team is focused on building and we want them to be able to focus on building. They shouldn't be dealing with all the admin and we've got the experience there. So we've got a lot of the relationships with banks, market makers, exchanges, etc. So it's easy for us. We probably have someone that we can contact. And then we've seen a lot of the mistakes. I mean, we've seen votes go wrong. We've seen communities, turn around against things, etc. So that experience is also very valuable because we say to our clients, you're probably going to set up one DAO and one foundation in your life. We sort of do this day to day. So we can tap into that experience and hopefully help you to avoid a lot of the common pitfalls.
Bit of a change from working in the Big Four, right? You have a very different environment. Cadence is different. What for you are you finding to be the biggest challenges in this space at the moment? Because running a DAO ain't easy. If you're a founder, there's not always a huge amount of upside, I understand. But you're running the investment discussions, you're running the team, you're direct manager to God knows how many people. You're trying to get people actively involved beyond buying and holding a token and maybe doing an arbitrary vote every now and again. How do you marshal all this? And what are the key things that you think people who are involved in this space should know? I mean, do they start a DAO and then get you involved, or do they get you involved past a certain point of cooperation or voting or activity? What's the sort of stuff they need to think about here, and how does Lemma kind of structure for that?
Yep. So one of the guys in our team made the joke to say we're professional cat herders. So we focus on getting a lot of people to agree, and that is really one of our challenges. It might be as small as security councils, steering committees, but then you have full-on communities as well. I think one of the things is proposals, in drafting proposals and the language used. We've seen just a word in a proposal sometimes get an outcry from a community, and then people, the whole proposal going down and people having to reword and redo everything. I'd say the other challenge is just that people don't know about some of the things that might get them in trouble. That's one of the things for our clients we say a lot of the time is, we're here to make sure you don't get in trouble. So you guys do a brilliant job setting it up, making sure the structure is in place and running, but we sort of deal with them day to day. I had it in last year where got on a call with a client. How's things going? Oh no, we're doing the Dutch auction in 2 days. Oh, okay, great. Have you spoken to legal counsel about this? How are you doing this? Where's the wallet? All those kinds of questions. So best of intentions, but a lot of the time the guys just don't realize that there are some legal things to consider and even some operational things. Where is something happening? Who's doing it? And potential implications of that. So I think there's an education part, but then there's also that collaboration part. And I think the collaboration part is part of the industry. So we're very used to that, making sure, it's clear communications. Everyone knows what's going on. I think communications has been something we focused on, and we're still trying to get better at it. That's definitely one of the big differences. It's not as hierarchical as a traditional corporate structure.
I think this is one of the big parts of actually setting up H3 is that Mark and I go through these initial conversations with people, and exactly as you articulated, there are best intentions here. I think there's this real misnomer that people are trying to cut every corner. They're really not. They have an incredibly complex environment in which to navigate. They come to legal counsel at the outset because they know that they need to get some actual sort of entity set up to be a counterparty to the real world. But then we sort of let them go off, and there's always a slight fear, almost a parental fear, of sort of seeing these projects leave our stable and wondering where they might go and how they might be looked after. And that is where someone like you and your team brilliantly jumps in, and I think that's all part of the H3 sort of environment we wanted to create, is that people can have the confidence to jump from one to the other and know that they're always going to be in good hands.
We're already seeing some trends emerge, and what do you see those as being, and what do you think the main challenges are? I mean, I could talk for about 45 minutes on this, and it's probably a good idea that I don't, but really keen to hear from your perspective.
I think some of the main challenges we're seeing is, especially because it's a bull market, teams trying to move very quickly without considering all the potential impacts. I think a lot of people are trying to, ride the cycle, which is completely fair. But there are some checks and balances to be put in place. So, I know you do it as well. We've had some late nights. We've had some clients who move quickly. We move quickly with them. But I think that's definitely a challenge on our side, making sure everything is done well. From our side, we've tried to automate a lot of the things we do, the monitoring, the checking, etc. So that's something that we're continuously trying to improve, to monitor, check, be able to grow with our clients, automate some of the things, template some documents for them. I think governance in general is busy maturing. So I think it's been a very interesting experiment in sort of the next evolution of democracy, if we want to say it that way. We came from small communities and small tribes, and we've gone all the way to international corporate structures. And I think in that governance, we've seen some things work really well, and then some things that didn't work well. The one thing I anticipate will happen is we're going to see, I don't want to call it governance attacks, but we saw it last year in November, where there were sort of attacks on treasuries, where tokens were bought up, proposals were made to potentially raid treasuries. I think that's something to start thinking about. It's probably something not a lot of people are considering, but we work with our clients on that as well. In your governance structure, do you have sort of an emergency brake protocol if you have to activate that? Is that in place, for example? So fully token governed projects definitely make sense, but we've seen some projects where they've moved away from that because of attacks, and they're sitting now on a multi-sig. I think there's pros and cons to having a multi-sig there. So I think it's a maturization, but then also just looking at staying up to date with everything. There's so many new protocols, new ways that things work. Even security has been interesting. Some of the social media attacks in the last while, we recently sent a circular to our clients just on Twitter and Discord, because even the attacks are definitely much more mature. There was one this week where I think the guy had an interview with 3 people acting to be Coinbase interviewees. They sent him a link to say, please authorize that we can use what you've said here. And that stole his Discord credentials, and they were able to impersonate him. So those are some of the challenges, and that's just going to get more, especially as the industry grows and the prices go up.
I think that reference, to sort of wrap this up, is to the international community is the most important piece here, in the sense that I know you have sort of founders all over the world that are reaching out to you. You've got communities as well that are sort of looking for these services, are looking to build out something, and I think the support Lemma can give them is absolutely fantastic. So I know we could talk for literally days, weeks, months about this, but it's been brilliant to have you on. Thank you ever so much for joining us, and look forward to seeing you hopefully in person soon.
Definitely. Phil, Mark, really enjoyed the conversation and look forward to working with you guys for the rest of the year.
Great. Thank you very much, Petri. See you soon.
Thanks, guys.